Hello, hello, lovely people. Tanika Maria out here with you another week as we begin to unpack matters of the heart, the journey home. So excited to be out here with you again this week, unpacking from my book, A Woman's Journey Home, 14 Keys to Ascending to the Next Dimension. And we're going through the study guide that goes along with this book. And we're just slowly going through it. So those of you who have downloaded it, who are coming along with me, definitely get your journal out, get your pens, papers out. And we're going to dive into this teaching on today. And if you haven't done so, subscribe, click notifications, share this out as you're led to do so that you can come along with us. So this week we're talking about matters of the heart, the journey home, get real, and be healed from unregulated emotions. It's about emotional control. And I know in the times that we're in right now, with so much going on in the country, I feel it. I know that you feel it with the increase in violence, the death of our Black men, what's going on with the pandemic. Our hearts hurt. Anxiety is spiked. Stress levels increase. And we feel the grief on top of everything else that's going on. And we still have to function. We still have to take care of our families. We still have to do what we need to do in spite of what's going on. So if my emotions are wild, if my emotions are all over the place, how can we effectively function? Right? And so we want to be able to feel our feelings. We want to be able to, even in the midst of the pain, be able to have some semblance of peace, some semblance of stability. I want to be able to feel my feelings and still be able to come back home to myself. I want to be able to be calm and centered even in the midst of chaos and confusion. That's going to be so important in the days and nights ahead. Put in the comments as you're listening, as you're taking notes, as you're just letting this sink in. Say after me, I want to be calm and I want to be centered. Calm and centered. I love this quote. I don't know where I heard it from, but it says, a peaceful mind is a powerful mind. And if we want to think like God, we have to have a mind of peace, because it's in the peace that we receive the clarity. It's a peaceful mind that can receive revelation. It is the peaceful mind that can get the proper perspective and the proper perception. But when our mind and our emotions are running buck wild, when we're in a state of internal chaos and confusion, then we're going to misinterpret situations. We're going to make misguided judgments. We'll make up mind stories and judgments about people and situations that's based on our fluctuating feelings instead of facts and truth. We want to make decisions based on facts and based on truth, right? Based on what we know to be true and not what's all the stories in our head that's coming from emotional wounding and what we think and all these feelings and thoughts and all of this stuff. We want to be grounded and centered. One of my favorite things that I always say is, I am rooted, grounded, fixed, and founded in the love of God. And that's where we want to be. And so as we unpack this on today, I want to look at the first quote that I have in this chapter by Bishop R.C. Blakes, and I won't be before you long. We're going to unpack a few nuggets, and then I want you to go along in the journal and answer those questions. Again, we don't want to skim and gloss over our soul work. To get the results, you have to do the work. Listen here. When a woman has no emotional control, and this goes for men too, don't get it twisted, right? Men can lose emotional control as well. And for them, it's more insidious and dangerous because they tend to internalize, right? But let's look at this. When a woman has no emotional control, she is socially and relationally vulnerable. She is compromised by her own emotions. If you don't have control of your emotions, someone else does. Think about that. When you're out of control, someone else is in control. When you protect your emotions, you own your own personal power and can dictate the atmosphere around you. Let me read this last part again. If you don't have control of your emotions, someone else does. When you're out of control, someone else is in control. We are called to be in control of our emotions. And what is the main thing that causes us to lose control? Is unprocessed pain, hidden and repressed emotional pain that we've either numbed out, pushed to the side, deep in our unconscious or subconscious, that is acting out in the realm of the emotions. That's the key driver of unregulated emotions. There's also hormones that play into it and other factors as well. But one of the main key drivers that will cause anyone to lose emotional regulation or have a hard time managing their emotions is the simple fact that there's wounding and unprocessed pain. And a lot of times it doesn't have to be something deep. It doesn't have to be some deep childhood pain, even though that's a main contributor, things that we don't really understand that has happened to us when we were children and everything. But also it's the daily stuff. It's the little things. Let me look here in this book here. The daily aggravations and annoyances, the small and petty inconveniences, a word spoken, a post on social media, the way somebody looked at you, when you feel slighted, overlooked, disrespected, when you feel like you're not getting enough attention, when you're not feeling validated. Those things will cause you to subconsciously act out. You're acting in ways and it's like, what am I doing? It's because of this emotional control right here. It's the tone of someone's voice when they said a certain thing sets you off the deep end. The list can go on, and it may not necessarily be some deep wounding. It's the daily stuff that packs up on us. And that's what gets us in trouble. And the more busy you become, the more that's going on in the world, because we're in a very unusual season. We're in this time period where everybody feels a lot of the same emotions, and we're all feeling that pressure. So you add that layer on top of what you were already going through. Now you got yourself in a situation. So how do we get out of it? How do we get out of it? We have to remember that we are humans. We have to remember that we are humans, and we have to treat ourselves with kindness and compassion. If you are in emotional pain on today, the best thing that you can do is show yourself compassion. Treat yourself humanely, right? Kindness and compassion. That means give yourself the dignity and respect to honor the fact that as a human and as a child of God, you have pain. And you deserve to feel, heal, and process that pain in a healthy way. But what we tend to do is get really, really busy, and we numb it out on our eating, on our activities, on the mindless chatter and drivel and distractions of the day. Anything to avoid feeling fear. You don't want me to go down, but I can go there, right? And so we repress our feelings, and we hide and we numb and we pretend, and sometimes we over spiritualize. And what you don't express, it shows up in your body. And this is where we have to learn how to appropriately express our pain and let ourselves feel it in a healthy way. Pain is a teacher. It does not come to pass. It does not come to stay, rather, but it comes to pass. And when we hang on to it and we refuse to deal with it, it's like hoarding the hurt. I love this quote: anything that's swept under the rug is still in your house. You can sweep stuff under the rug all you want to, but it doesn't go anywhere. It just gets into a really big pile in your spiritual and emotional house. And eventually it's so obvious and conspicuous because you can't really move free. And we can no longer be battling, with our bondages anymore. It's time to be free. It's time to be free. We can't cure what we keep covered. We can't keep putting band-aids and over spiritualizing things. We have to get real and be healed and find a safe space, a safe person, a coach, a friend, somebody that's mature, that can handle it, to confess it, to talk about it, to share. Go to God. And then I have some self-coaching questions that you can do to unpack it. If there is no one, you can always go to God to start unpacking this that's on the inside. And the reality is, and I'll read a little bit here, and again, I'm reading from my book, A Woman's Journey Home, 14 Keys to Ascending to the Next Dimension. And also it's in the journal as well, parts of it. But let me read this. As women, we must face feelings with courage and honesty instead of repressing or avoiding them or minimizing them by acting super spiritual. When we face them honestly, we become stronger and heal faster. The quicker you face your stuff, the stronger you get and the faster you heal. The problem is we don't face it, we run from it because we think that if we cry that the whole world is going to end just because we felt some pain. Announcement: the world won't end because you have emotional pain and you broke down and you fell out and cried a little bit. After you do that, you will feel a lot better and you will be stronger and you will heal faster. And this requires compassion. It requires the ability to be kind to yourself and feel the emotions and let them pass without getting stuck. And when we don't do this on a regular basis, we get hard-hearted. We get hard-hearted. Nothing worse than a hard-hearted Christian. Nothing worse than anyone that's really hard-hearted. Because when your heart is hard, love can't come in and you can't express what you don't have. Come on. But when you feel your feelings, you're able to have a soft heart. You're able to be touched with the compassion and the feeling of other people and their infirmities. You'll be able to minister to people better. You'll just be able to be touched. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Another thing, and we'll wrap this up. If we are emotionally unstable, when the increased pressure and altitude of new elevations, the new levels we want to ascend to, the new relationships, the new dynamics, the new things that we're praying for, that we're believing for God to do in our lives, we won't be able to handle it because we'll self-sabotage. We'll go right back down into the self-sabotaging emotional habits and coping mechanisms that we use to survive. And they don't work when you come up higher. What you did back then won't work for where you're going now. Falling out, going off, lashing out at people, acting a fool, excuse my expression. It won't work, for where God has taken us. And so we have to, as we mature, as we heal, as we begin to deal with these things, it's important to know that we have to have that control, that regulation. We have to learn how to properly process, unpack, feel it, get real, be healed, and get stronger, faster over time. And as we move up and as we ascend and as God began to take us to different arenas and realms, and see, this is still going to happen. Even in the midst of all that's going on in the world right now, God is still raising up people. God is still working. He is still moving, and we want to be ready. We don't want to be falling apart when it's time for us to do something new, when God wants to prosper us, even in the midst of all that's going on. And we don't want to self-sabotage because we're feeling some kind of way about somebody. We don't want to self-sabotage because we're anxious. We don't want to self-sabotage because we're angry and we're distracted and disturbed all of the time. We could become so overwhelmed emotionally that we don't know how to calm down, unpack and heal with God privately, and then wind up falling apart publicly. I don't want to be a public success and a private mess. But that's what happens when we don't take the time to work with God and heal. And so these are the questions that I want you to consider. And those of you that have your journals, you can see this in your journal. But I want you to think about it. Write down the negative or painful thoughts about certain people and situations that keep popping up in your mind. What is the offense? And what is it about these people and situations that you can't seem to let go of? And why? Think about that. I encourage you, this question too. Write out a prayer to God and reveal the areas, and ask Him to reveal to you the areas where you are unhealed and broken in these situations, and release it to Him by asking for forgiveness and empowering you to forgive them. Do whatever you need to do. Cry, hit a pillow, be mad, whatever you got to do. But that negative sin energy is in your body too. You know, our emotions impact our body in a very powerful and very profound way. Those emotions are not airy fairy, amorphous things. You know, emotions are molecules. Emotions run in your body. They're chemical. They're nervous system. They're there, and they don't go anywhere just because you don't express it. And so you got to verbally release and forgive. And write down your own affirmation to I will no longer run, I will no longer resist, run from, or repress my pain by hustling, by being overly busy, by overeating and doing all of this stuff, all the hiding and defense and distraction mechanisms that we do. We fool and we trick ourselves thinking we're okay when we're not. And ask God to make you whole and complete, lacking in nothing. Amen. And as you take this apart, definitely, if any of this is resonating with you, write it down in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know how you're feeling. This is a dialogue, not just a one-way. This is not a one-way conversation, but it's a dialogue, right? And come along with us in the journey. You'll see the link to download your own guide, also to get a book. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and let me know how this is resonating with you. Blessings to you. Take your time this week. Know that you're seen. Know that you're loved. Know that you're heard. Know that your life matters. God bless you, and I'll be back out here again soon. Take care.